So a couple of the things that we're going to be discussing here today are going to be related to really kind of beyond that chat, beyond the meeting side of things. And we want to talk a little bit about the user interface and some of the other features, including the feature of Microsoft Teams itself inside Teams. So before I get started with Teams, though, I do want to talk about the user interface. So when we talk about what you see when you come into Microsoft Teams, I really want to focus right now just having you look at, if you have Teams open, which I encourage you to have your app open, as well as, of course, the meeting going on. But when you look at your profile at the top right, there is a menu. If you click your actual profile, you can see right now when I just look at my profile, I've got a red circle. That red circle is part of my notifications. And what that does is lets people know that I'm actually busy right now. And it's reading it from my calendar, either my Teams calendar and or my Outlook calendar. So we have that integration of both applications. So everybody that can see my profile, whether they're in a chat, they're in a meeting, I'm in Microsoft Project, doesn't matter where I am, wherever they can see my profile, they can see that right now I'm busy. So some things within the application, we probably don't want to be talk about some features that we have that we can actually delay things from happening. But when you click on your actual profile, you're going to get a menu. This drop-down menu is actually showing right now that I'm presenting. So we have the capability of being able to see that I'm actually in a meeting and I'm presenting at this time. So we can change that though. And that's the best part, because what if you're available? What if your circle is green and you're marked as available, but somebody walks in the office and they want to talk to you and you want it on a do not disturb so that you're, really kind of focusing on the person that walked in your office and wants to talk. You can change it at any time. One way is to go to your profile at the top right of the screen. When you click on it, just change it to do not disturb or whichever option you want. Or you can right click on your Teams icon down at the taskbar at the bottom of your screen. But one of the features is a little bit different than the others, and that's the do not disturb. The do not disturb is going to stop notifications from coming in. So you know how you get notifications when people chat with you, you get a banner notification at the bottom. When somebody calls you, you get a banner notification at the bottom. Those types of things. If you are on a do not disturb, you are not going to get disturbed with those unless it was sent as urgent. If somebody sends you an urgent chat, it will still come through. Otherwise, do not disturb, nothing's going to come through. So make the appropriate choice. Sometimes if I'm just running to get coffee and, I'll be back in a few minutes or whatever, I use be right back. And just so you know, I'm going to go ahead and choose that one, be right back. It changes mine to yellow. So people know that I've really just stepped away for a moment. So that's kind of a great little feature to use. And where it says on this drop-down menu, notice it also says set status meeting, or I'm sorry, status message. You can choose that and type in a message like went to get coffee, be back in 10 minutes. I can have a message like that is actually going to show people when they message me, this message will show up. I'm going to click done. And I can go back and turn that off and change my status at any time that I want to. So these are some great additional features that we have built into Microsoft Teams that you definitely want to be taking advantage of. Now, while I'm at the top right of the screen, I want to talk about another option. Even though it's at the end of your handout, when you are at the top right of your sorry, I meant to do this. When you are at the top right of your window, there is a dotted menu for more options. When you click on that, you will have access to your team's settings. I highly recommend that you go into your team settings because you don't always want things to be based on the default settings. Sometimes you want things to be set up a little bit differently. Here's where you can make those changes, including changes to notifications. Now, I will talk a little bit about notifications also when we're in Teams, in Microsoft Teams. I'll talk about setting notifications there as well. But you really should go through each of the categories on the left-hand side. And then every time you click on a category, look at the right-hand side of the screen so that you know what settings you can change. Now, one of them, which I feel is very important to understand, is the one called chats and channels. Recently, a few months back, Microsoft decided to combine together the chats and channels. I personally was one of the people that messaged Microsoft and said, why did you do this? This does not work very well. And they got millions and millions of responses from people with that same message. And they decided to separate, give us an option to separate them. So if you are currently using Teams and on your navigation on the left-hand side, you only see a chat icon and not a Teams icon, you can now change it. Go to the settings, go to the category called chats and channels, and on the right-hand side, you can choose separate. So you don't have to have them combined together, which I don't like mine combined together. I like them to be separate because they're not related to each other. They really are not a part of each other in a lot of ways. So I like them to be separated. And if you do also, you can change it now. But go through each of these categories on the left, including, of course, the notifications and activity section. That will be an important one to adjust to what you want to see and how you want to see things. So scroll down through those options, whether it's meetings, calendar, approvals, etc. You have options to turn on and turn off. Now, the other part that I'm going to mention, because we're going to talk about this today, is calls. On the left-hand side, you have this calls category. From the calls category on the right-hand side, there is a recorded greeting. So when I demonstrate for you how to do a call in Microsoft Teams, you can actually have your own voicemail message. I personally have not changed mine because I actually like the one we get. But if you want to record your own greeting, you definitely can. You can also change the language for your default greeting. And down at the bottom of this, manage out of office voicemail. So if you're going to be out of the office and somebody tries to call you as opposed to email you, you know how you go to Outlook and you turn on your out-of-office assistant? That has nothing to do with Teams, really. The notification, your profile circle is going to show you're out of the office for your coworkers, but if somebody tries to call you in Teams, you can actually have a greeting that they will get, letting them know that you are out of the office. So that's a nice little feature that we have built into Microsoft Teams that you definitely want to take advantage of. So have that become a habit. You know, don't just turn on your out of office and Outlook, come to Teams and work with this as well. But enough about this for right now. I just really wanted to point this out for you so that you had a better idea of, you know, some things that happen in the background. We don't always want how it looks or how it feels. You can make some adjustments. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to the left-hand side and I'm going to actually start in the activities category. The activities category has a lot to offer. Always pay attention to when something new shows up in the activities. Now, what's going to show up in the activities in Teams? Well, if somebody leaves you a voicemail message, it's going to show up here in the activity. You can also see if somebody doesn't, and I'm going to be talking about app mentions today. I'll actually, God damn it, that we can actually be using directly through a team and in a channel. But we'll get to that here in just a few. But otherwise, what you're going to see is when you are on the activities, up at the top, you do have a filter option for app mentions, where if somebody does that mention you and you want to see those, you can click on that filtered category. There's also a tag mentions. I don't have any tagged mentions right now, but just so you could see, you have these options for filtering what it is that you want to see in the activities. Otherwise, the activities by default are going to show you upcoming changes to meetings and different things like that. So you always want to be checking out what you have available there when you see that you have something new there. Now, I'll have something new there by the end of our session today, so I'll come back and talk about that a little bit more. But I want to focus right now on the Teams side of Teams. What happens with this full application called Microsoft Teams is most people start with chatting. Then they progress into doing meetings. Those are both wonderful features. And we're not going to get into the details of either of those today. We want to kind of talk about beyond those features. But really, Teams is a huge part of using this application. And a lot of people don't take full advantage of how Microsoft Teams inside Teams really works. So when you come into the Teams part of Teams, you're going to see that at the left-hand side, you will see a list of your teams. Now, there's different sections to this. I'll get to, kind of explaining those different sections. But whatever team you are a part of, you will see a list of those. You can collapse and expand the channels that are a part of a team. Now, before we dive into details as to how does a team get created, what is a channel, what is a tab, if you have the rights to create a new team, I do not recommend that you just come in here and just create it and kind of wing it from here. What I really want you to do is to focus on really planning before you build. So before you ever build a team, I want you to plan it out first. There's a couple of things that I want to mention when it comes to the planning side. What is going to be the objective of the team? I end up documenting all of this plan before I build the team, and then I copy the objective from my Word document or wherever I'm planning it from. Sometimes I'm actually planning it from the actual OneNote notebook, but just so you know, I copy the objective and put it in as the description when I actually create the team. Because people will see that description when they are invited to the team. They get an email message letting them know that they've been invited to the team, and it's going to give them that description as well as the name. So think about what the team name should be. All team names need to be unique within your domain. So you can't have two teams named accounting department. You would have to have separate names, okay? Also, who needs access to the team? Are you going to have more than one owner? Because there's different roles that we have inside teams. So one of the roles is going to be the owner. By default, whoever creates the team will be the owner of the team. But you should have a backup person so that if you're going to be on holiday, whatever, you'll have somebody else that can actually come in and make any changes or do things with the team in your absence. So usually you're going to have more than one. But anybody that is added that is not a part of your domain, so external users, when they are added, they are automatically added as a guest. and guests have the least amount of options to manage the team. Owners have full rights to the team. Members, we control. So whoever the owner is in setting up the team, you are going to control what a member can and can't do. And you want to make these changes prior to inviting people to be a part of the team. Okay? And when a team is created, you need to choose the type of team. There's 3 types of teams that can be created depending on your position within the company. If you are an admin for teams, you can create what are called org-wide teams, where you can have a team that is available for everybody in your company. Everybody. They would automatically see it in their list of teams. But the most common is really a private team. A private team is what we do 99.9% of the time. That is where we invite people. We're going to say who's going to be the owners, the members, and the external guests that we have within our teams. The other one is actually called a private team. I'm sorry, not a private, is called a public team. A public team is available to anybody within your domain, but they're not going to see it immediately. They would have to open it to see it. Those are very uncommon. Usually it's going to be either private or org-wide. But anyway, you also need to be planning ahead before you build the team to know what are you going to need inside the team. So we're going to have the name of the team, and of course it can have a cute little logo and a different color, those kind of things, which I'll show you where all that is managed. But also you're going to be adding channels to a team, and you're going to need to know what channels need to be added and what type of channel. What's going to be the names of the channels and what type of channel is it going to be. When it comes to the types of channels, which by the way, all of this is laid out in your handout for you, the types of channels are going to be standard, which a standard channel everybody has access to. Owners, members, and guests all have access to standard channels, but we can also be creating private channels. Private channels are by invitation only. So only the people that are a part of the team can be a part of a private channel. I'll show you an example of one that I have in my accounting department team, but it's called managers. So if you have several managers that are a part of whatever the team is, and you want to have confidential information that not everybody needs to see, you could do a private channel. The other option is actually an external guest that doesn't need access to everything else in the team. We can actually have what is called a shared channel. A shared channel can be shared with somebody externally, not just outside of your domain, but outside of the team. So if you have a coworker that is part of operations that does need access to the whole team, they don't need the whole team, they just need what's in a specific channel of your team, we can do those so that we can share information with them, but not everything getting shared with them. So 3 different types of channels. A lot of things come in threes when it comes to working in our teams. So once you've done some planning, that's when you're ready then to go and create a new team. Now, before we dive into creating a team and how teams are going to work, I want you to understand that when a team is created, there's some things happening in the background that you may not have been aware of. And when Teams was first released, I still remember the day I got Teams as an app. People started creating teams left and right, and IT didn't control that at first. Everybody was out there creating all these teams, and we ended up with a bunch of duplication. We really didn't understand what teams were and how as an organization we should be using those. That's why we plan ahead. We don't want to have any duplicated information. We don't want any confusion on where things are being done or where I should go to save a file or to access a file. We want to have more organization over all of that. So when a team is created, it is actually creating a SharePoint site. So a full Teams SharePoint site is created. I'll show you how that works today because it's very important to understand the backbone of Microsoft Teams is SharePoint. That's, it's crazy. That's why a lot of companies, just so you know, that's why a lot of companies limit who can actually create a team. We don't usually want to allow anybody to go and create a team because then we don't know what teams are out there. We don't know what information is being shared. We have to worry about confidential, so it's much better if we can have IT create the teams for us. We don't have to worry about creating them, but then we can have a delegate that goes out there and creates the channels and adds the apps and, still can be an owner and make those adjustments to the team, but we're not creating it. Okay, there's a lot of reasons we want to do that. So when a team is created, we get this SharePoint site in the background. That is where the files are going to physically be stored, and we're going to have availability to full SharePoint capabilities, and I'll demonstrate some of that in just a second. But number 2 here is talking about channels and SharePoint libraries. So every time that we go to a channel, we have standard channels, we have those private channels and shared channels that I was talking about. When those channels are created, there is a separate place that they are stored within the SharePoint site, and I'll point those out to you when I go into SharePoint through Teams. So I'll come back and talk more about that. Also, number 3, the integration feature. So tabs and links, you can add SharePoint document libraries to the team. You can add SharePoint lists to the team. You can add SharePoint pages to be accessible through Microsoft Teams. We have the full connectivity, excuse me, back and forth in between SharePoint and Microsoft Teams because they're the same. Technically, they are the same. So we also get the collaboration tools, which is why we use Teams to begin with, but we get the full collaboration tools coming from SharePoint, including search capabilities. We get co-authoring. So if we have files saved within a document library, we also have access to those through SharePoint. And of course, we could do live collaboration with our coworkers. Excuse me, I got tickled. Anybody that is an owner, member, or guest of the team. And because this is part of SharePoint, we have mega options for permissions. So we get the full capability in the background of SharePoint, which has the most available for security measures and other workflow capabilities built right in to SharePoint, which is part of Teams. So anyway, let me show you some of that here in just a moment. Now, before I dive into showing you all of that, I'm going to be showing you a little bit on that workflow side of things. We create a team, it's automatically creating a SharePoint site. When we put files in the File tab of a channel, that is a SharePoint document library. It is automatically going in a SharePoint document library, so we have that full capability of the power of SharePoint, which is fantastic. We talked about the collaboration. We have access to multiple content, and we have those permission options as well. So when we stop and think about what happens behind the scenes in Microsoft Teams, we really need to keep in mind we are connected to other apps. We have SharePoint behind the scenes when a team is created, but the whole application itself is directly connected to other 365 apps as well. Whether we're talking about Planner, we're talking about OneNote notebooks, Microsoft Lists, Outlook, we are fully connected across the board to our 365 apps. Okay. Lots of cool things are happening in the background. So, as an accountant or person working in finance, how can we really be utilizing these tools? Well, within Microsoft Teams, in Teams, we'll have the document collaboration, which gives us version history control. We have automated workflow capabilities, which I'll demonstrate. We even could be connecting to third-party applications. So if you're using a special accounting application, if it is part of Microsoft approved apps, we could actually have a tag.
I'll let
It
you
just took
continue.
a slight pause there for a second.
Yeah.
But we can have that full connectivity of having these third-party apps that you use, your ERP system, whatever the case might be, whatever. It is pretty fantastic that we have all of that because we're part of SharePoint and we get that power behind it. But task management and deadlines, I use that all the time. I'm my own accountant, and I have an accountant that I have outside of my organization, and we have shared channels that we can have shared task lists and different things. I have a tax person and all this, and we could have all these shared tasks that we will be able to really be able to stay on track, etc. But then again, of course, we have all those security measures that are built into the power of SharePoint. So all of that just makes it a super great program that we know we can be secure in. So let's jump into it and see how all of this is going to work for you. So a new team can be created if you have the rights to by coming into Teams through Teams. And at the top of the left-hand side, there is this icon. It's a square with a pencil. You can click that. I'm sorry. Let me go to Teams. I was in chat. If you go to Teams, it's the same icon at the top of the left-hand side there. But if you go to that drop-down, you could choose New Team. Go to the drop-down arrow, choose New Team. This is where your plan comes into play, where you're going to give the team a name. You're going to put in the description, which is going to be the objective of the team. You're going to choose the type of team that you want, whether it's going to be private, public, or org-wide. Org-wide is only available if you are an admin. Otherwise, you won't even see it. And then your first channel has to be created. So down at the bottom, it says first channel name, and it's got an asterisk because it's required. You will put in the name of your first channel. Then you're going to click create. Once you create a team, it's going to show up on the left-hand side. And by the way, do not add people during the time that a team is created. You want to add people after. Add people after. And here's why. Because part of your planning is when you say, here's the members that are going to be a part of this team. What permissions do you want to give members? So I'm going to go to this accounting department team that I have created. I'm going to right click on the name of the team. When I do that, I can actually go into what is called Manage Team. I do this first. After the team is created, I come into Manage Team. What it's going to do is open up these different tabs on the right-hand side. It will allow you from here would be one way to create a channel. So if you want to start setting up your channels, you could do that right from here. Now, I'm going to skip over members because I want to go to settings. That's usually where I go first. I usually go straight to settings. The team details is where you could change the picture and you could edit the name. So if you want to have a different image instead of the default image, you could choose change picture. Now, I'm not going to worry about doing that right at this moment, but if you go to member permissions, every time a team is created, every one of these options for member permissions is checked. Not all of mine are checked right now because I don't want all these checked. If you look through this list, it is shocking to me the things a member can do that I don't think they should. Allow members to create and update channels. Allow members to delete and restore channels. allow members to add and remove apps, allow members to upload custom apps, allow members to create and update and remove tabs, which are apps going across the top, allow members to create and update and remove connections, allow members to update and delete tags, give members the options to delete their message. I usually leave the last three checked. Those I'm okay with. Give members the option to delete their messages. If they put a post in a channel, I'm okay with that. If they delete it because they did it. But just so you can see, there is a category for guest permissions as well. But if you don't allow members to create and update channels, guests can't either. And if you don't allow members to delete channels, guests don't get that choice either. Okay? But you want to check these features out. There's even this category called @mentions. So you could show members the option for @team. So they just put in the team name and it's going to @mention everybody in the team, whether they're an owner, a member, or a guest. They can be used as an @mention group. Just so you know, you can turn that on. You also can give members the option to @channel. You can give the name of a channel as an @mention, and everybody that's a part of that channel will be mentioned. So that's much easier than doing a separate @mention for multiple people. So anyway, just so you know that that's an option to turn on and turn off. Once I kind of make the changes to these, that's when I'll go back and add members. And you can control your members in the settings by going to the tab at the top for members. You can choose add members. You can expand this members and guest list. You can add more people to it at any time. So if somebody leaves or, joins a new department, whatever, you can always add people. When you add people as a member or guest or an owner, they'll receive an email message, but the team does automatically show up in their list on the left-hand side, just so you know that. But do all of this first, then add members. Now, for me, I normally will add channels and tabs prior to inviting members, but it's up to you. But do the settings for sure. But how do you add a channel? Well, you can come in to the settings here and go to channels, or you can just right-click the team itself and then say add channel. However you want to do it is fine. But a channel is a way to help you organize the information that is going to be a part of the team. So like I have a general channel that has automatic for anybody that's in the team, we could put general information. Or I have accounts payable, accounts receivable, business expenses, chart of accounts, etc. But notice I have this managers channel. So when I added the channel, I chose this to be a private channel where only specific members of the team are a part of this managers channel. I also have this shared channel called tax info. I shared with outside of the company to a tax person. They don't need anything else in the accounting team. So I didn't add them as a guest. They were really just added to this shared channel. So just so you could see, you could do that. But when you add a channel, I'm just going to turn my camera off to see if that helps with that connection issue. But just so you could see, when you go to the post tab, this is where you could post in the channel related to what the channel is about. So this is my AR channel that I'm in. And if I want everybody to know that we have a new employee starting, I could put that in as the subject and then add a post about the new employee starting on Friday, that kind of a thing, whatever it is that you want to let everybody know. This is a chat option. This is where we have conversations with the team members related to whatever the name of the team is, or the channel, I should say. So this would be everything related to accounts receivable. Then you click post and everybody will be able to see that. Now, had I done an @mention for this channel everybody that's a part of the channel and or team would have been able to get a notification directly about it. But we have other workflows that we can use to say, I want to be notified every time a post is made in this channel. You can actually right click a channel, by the way, and go into channel notifications. If you want to be notified, this is you personally, if you want to be notified every time a new post is put in there, that channel, choose the option that you want for notifications. Do you want to follow all new threads of the conversation? You can turn that on. Then save your changes, and you will be notified every time a new post happens within that channel. So that's a great option. Just so you know, right-click the channel to manage the channel. But a big part of all of this is going to be the Files tab of a channel. If you go to the Files tab of a channel, this is where all your files will be stored. And this is part of SharePoint. This is a SharePoint document library. How did the files get here? You can create a new file by clicking New, or create a new folder to organize your files, or click Upload to add existing files from a different location. Like if you have things in your network drive still, or if you have files that are in your cloud OneDrive, whatever the case would be, navigate to where they're at, select them, click Open, and it will automatically copy those files into this document library. Then you want to have the habit of going back and deleting them out of the original location and having this as your go-to of where you use these files. When you have files here, they have the power of SharePoint. What do I mean by that? If you right-click a file, you get a pop-up menu. It does not include every feature that you have for managing files. Not every feature is going to be here. But if you go to the menu at the top or right-click a file, you can choose Open in SharePoint. The menu at the top and the right click is the same menu. But if you choose Open in SharePoint, it's going to open the actual SharePoint site. It's going to open the actual SharePoint site. Now, what that's going to do, and sorry, it's on my other screen. Let me quick log in. I'll have to authenticate. Sorry about that. I was out of there too long and it doesn't like that. You know how security is. But let me share that with you so that you can see this SharePoint site. So let me drag that over here. So what it did then was it automatically gives you that SharePoint document library in the SharePoint site itself. If you look at the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to see that it automatically is showing you that this is SharePoint because I have a home category. I could go to the home page of the SharePoint site. I could go to conversations, etc., etc. All of these are part of the SharePoint site that is part of your team. But if I go to documents, this is the main documents library for the SharePoint site. Each channel in the team has its own folder. Each channel has its own folder. So you could see that it's got accounts payable, it's got the AR. So if I go to any of those, it's going to show you all the files within that channel. So if I go to the AR document library again, coming from Teams, just so you could see, if I right-click the file, I now get a full menu of everything that is available that you can do to manage the files. This is where it's going to give you the power of SharePoint. We don't get every feature as of today when we are in Teams. We will get features like Alert Me, which can be an alert set up for a file, or an alert set up for the entire document library that you can get a notification if a file is changed, a file is deleted, a file is added, those types of things. But we also have automate options, which are coming from your power tools. I could go to flows and we have a built-in workflow, which I have more details in your handout, for features like request sign off. We also can set up rules, we can set up quick steps to help us create workflows. We even can have agents, all kinds of things. We have access to our version history on our files, which the version history doesn't start until the files are in the cloud, whether it's OneDrive or SharePoint, which means Teams as well. But this is going to give you the full capabilities of SharePoint, which is one of the reasons we want our Teams file tab to be a part of SharePoint. So back here in Microsoft Teams, every channel has a Files tab. Every Files tab is a SharePoint document library. So organize your files based on the channels, put them in the Files tab, you'll have the power of SharePoint. But what else are you going to put in this team? Well, by default, you're going to have a tab for notes. So I happen to be in my business expenses channel. If I go to notes, it is a OneNote notebook that we automatically get. And being in finance or accounting, this is a great place for you to be able to share information together. You can take the power of OneNote and have it automatically be a shared notebook for everybody to use. But something that I use on a very regular basis, the tab at the top that I have added by going to the plus sign, I added an app called Planner, and I named it BE for business expenses, and it's a shared task list. So everybody can have, every channel can have its own shared task list based on the name of the channel, so that we can be sharing and assigning tasks to different people that are a part of that channel or a part of the team. You can't assign a task to somebody that isn't a part of the actual channel itself, just so you're aware. But you have the capability. So as you can see on mine, I have this tab called Asset Manager. This is a SharePoint list, and I could use it in SharePoint. I can use it here in Teams, but you can add in whatever you need in each individual channel that will help you work together as a team. But what else is included in this application that is about, Marianne, thank you. I, yeah, I know that there's a couple of disconnections here. I'm sorry for that. But just so you know, in Microsoft Teams, there's more than just Teams also. Something that I use on a very regular basis is calls. Now, a lot of times my calls are going to be done through a chat, but I can also go directly to calls, or I can do a call from Outlook. As long as I see someone's profile circle, I can call someone. Now, why would you do a call? Well, let's say that you had an invoice come in and you have a question about it, and you send a chat to somebody. But now you're chatting back and forth and having a conversation. What if you just want to talk to the person and you want to share what you received to confirm that, yes, this is legit or whatever the case might be on that invoice? I use calls for this all the time. So you can make a call, and if they don't answer, like I'm going to call student one, this person here called student one. I'm just going to hesitate and I can click call. And what it's going to do, let me show you that screen. What it's going to do is automatically call the person. Okay, sorry about that. So when you go into the calls category, you're going to have these tabs at the top where you can see the history of incoming, outgoing voicemails, or if you just want to see missed calls, incoming calls, voicemail messages, you have those capabilities. The voicemail will show the text version and the recorded live, the voice version, but the email notification that you get when somebody leaves you a voicemail will give you that as well. So I highly recommend using calls because sometimes chat is great for a casual conversation, but when you need to actually talk to somebody, I don't do it from my phone because I want to be able to share my screen. I might want to record the call, and all of that can be done through the calls category. So I don't know if you still have a desk phone at your office. Some people are transitioning over to Teams calls, which can be used on your mobile device as well as on your laptop or whatever device you're using. I really like that. I think that is a great option. But the last thing that I want to mention for our session today, on the left-hand side, the menu bar on the left, modify it. Organize it the way you want it to be organized by clicking and dragging your icons to be where you want them to be. You can just click and drag and move them around. But add the icons that are going to help you do your job the easiest way. I use Planner a lot. I have plans that are, part of my teams, all my channels, and I'm a part of other teams. So I want to be able to have access to all of my plans, not individually have to go to a team to get to it. So how I added this planner icon is by going to the ... for view more apps. You can add a shortcut to any app that you want. You could search for it, or if you see it, you could just click on it and it will open the app. So if you want to add Planner, click Planner. Then right-click the icon and left-click on Pin to keep it there. Otherwise, if you just open it and then go someplace else, it will close it. But if you pin it, it will always be there. Okay? But when you go to Planner, you will have access to every plan regardless of where it's located. So if it's in your accounting department team, and it's actually a part of, so if I go to my plans, by the way, this is where I'll see every plan that I'm a part of. So here's my BE tasks that I was just in. I don't have to go to the team to have access to it. I could go directly here instead. So you have some great options to be using in Microsoft Teams that are going to be taking you way beyond just chat and way beyond meetings. Although those are great features to use, I can't say enough about the Teams side of Teams. If you don't already have a team set up for your department, excuse me, that is where I would start. Have a team created for your department and kind of build from there. Because having that central location for your files and your tasks and everything is going to be essential. So with that, Matthew, did we have any questions come through from the group?